Hello. Today I'm going to read you another Rocket book. This one is called Rocket Writes a Story. It's another story about the little puppy that wants to go to school with the little yellow bird, and it's written by Tad Hills and illustrated by him as well. And here we go. I'm going to do it like I did the other day. I'll read it and then I'll turn around. Oh, but really look, he's got a lot of words all over it, like a word wall in the tree. Words that he knows. Some of you have that. Rocket Writes a Story by Tad Hills. Word walls come in handy when you're writing. Rocket loved books. He loved to read them to himself or to sit quietly by his teacher, the little yellow bird, as she read them aloud. Rocket even liked the way the book smelled. When he opened a new book, it smelled like a place he'd never been to, like a friend he'd never met. The little yellow bird agreed. Books are inspiring. They make me sing. Although Rocket looks like he's sleeping by the books, doesn't he? Rocket loved words too. After snack time, his teacher would say, "Rocket, why don't you use that nose of yours to sniff out some new words?" And off he'd go. He'd fetch some nice ones like buttercup and bug and feather and nest. "I'm looking for words," Rocket would announce to anyone who would listen. So here's the little buttercup. Here's the bug. And here is a feather. And then he sees a nest up in the tree. He's not doing sight words, he's doing more like nouns, like things. Rocket always brought his words back to the classroom and wrote them down. The little yellow bird would help him spell the tricky ones, and then they'd hang them on their word tree. Sometimes the bird added her own words to the collection. "This one's small, but I promise it'll come in handy," she'd say. And she has a word, a sight word, U-P, up. Okay, so here's this big word tree, like a word wall. They don't have any walls, so they have to use the tree. "Magnificent," chirped the little yellow bird once their tree was covered. "Now what shall we do with all these splendid words?" Rocket thought all afternoon, and then he had an idea. You make a prediction. What do you think he's going to do with all of these words? Rocket left school that day with a very waggy tail. "I'm going to write a story," he declared to Fred and Emma. "My story will be an adventure about the great wide world," he told a butterfly. "I will use many words," he explained to Buster. "Hello up there," he called as he passed the tree where he had found the word nest. "I'm going to write a story." He's planning it out like you do, right? Okay. The next day, Rocket returned to his classroom. It was time to begin. He looked down at the blank page, and the blank page looked up at him, but no story would come. At snack time, Rocket gave up. "I don't know what to write," he told his teacher. And that's called writer's block, when you don't have an idea. Right? So then you have to start thinking about people you like to spend time with, or places that you like to go, or activities that you like to do, and you can write a story about that. "Don't worry," the little yellow bird replied. "One of the hardest parts of writing is coming up with a good story, but it's one of the most fun too. Perhaps you want to write about something you've seen." "A bug?" asked Rocket. "Yes," sang his teacher. "Stories need good characters, or write about something that happened to you, or something that you really enjoy." "My favorite stick," suggested Rocket. "Of course," said the bird. "Or you could write about something that inspires you." "Inspires me?" asked Rocket. "Yes, something that excites you," the little yellow bird sang. I wonder what excites him. What excites you? What could you write a story about? Rocket took a walk and looked for inspiration. He thought about friends he knew and places he'd been. He stuck his nose high in the air and sniffed the gentle breeze. And there it was, a delightful smell of pine needles and feathers. Inspiration! For the rest of the morning, he thought about feathers and pine needles and feathers. Then that afternoon, he started to write. In the evening, Rocket followed the beautiful smell until he found himself at the tree with the nest. "Hello again," he called into the branches. "Is anyone home?" He heard rustling from above, but no one answered. "I'm sorry to disturb you, but I must tell you that you smell nice. Very inspiring. May I ask who you are?" "Still nothing. Perhaps I'll come back at a more convenient time," he said, and he trotted off. Who do you think it is up in that tree? It isn't a nest. I wonder. That night, as Rocket watched the stars, he thought about the feathers and the nest in the pine tree, and he thought about his story and his collection of words. Look at the beautiful sky. Oh, maybe this bird in the tree only comes out at night. Let's find out. On his way to school the next day, Rocket was surprised by what he saw. A brand new word, he said, and it's already written down. It says, like he tried to sound out the word, he's tapping it out, O-W-L. You know what it spells? Owl. You know Mrs. Welch loves little owls. Owl, came a quiet voice from the branches. It says owl. That's me. Thank you, Owl, Rocket called. I'm always looking for words, and this one's a beauty. Rocket ran all the way to his classroom. O-W-L, owl. Now there's a word you don't hear every day, chirped the little yellow bird. Only 3 letters, but what a word. It was a present, explained Rocket, and he added the new word to his story. Is it the little word there? O-W-L. He gave it to his teacher. I'm writing a story about you, Rocket announced proudly to the owl the next morning. The owl poked her head out of her nest, and for the first time, Rocket saw her friendly face. Her big brown eyes blinked below feathery tufts. About me? She asked softly. Would you like to come down and hear it? Asked Rocket. Thank you, but I think I'll listen from my nest, the owl answered. So Rocket cleared his throat and began to read. Once there was an owl. She smelled like feathers and pine needles, and she lived in a tree. The owl's eyes widened. Is there more? There will be, said Rocket, right? We kind of need, like in a story, you need something to happen, like an event to occur. Sometimes it's a problem. Each day, Rocket worked on his story. He wrote words down and crossed words out, and when things were going well, he wagged his tail. When he didn't know what to write, he growled. Sometimes he drew pictures for his story or took a walk in the meadow to look for inspiration. The little yellow bird encouraged him. Remember, stories take time, she'd say. She wanted to know more about the owl and asked Rocket questions. Why do you think the owl wouldn't come down? What color is her beak? What does she do every day? Do you know what the owl does every day? The owls are nocturnal. I think she sleeps every day. Remember in The Kissing Hand, the teacher was an owl? And she would have school at night because she sleeps all day. Rocket wanted to know more about the owl too. He visited her tree often and read her his story, which changed every day. The owl was captivated, and when Rocket stopped, she would always ask, then what happened? Oh, look, it looks like she's coming down closer and closer. Look how close she is to him now. At last, the day came when Rocket knew he was finished. What a fine story, chirped the little yellow bird after she'd read it. Rocket ran to the owl's pine tree. It's done, he called. Come and listen. And Rocket even has like a title. It's kind of upside down, but it says, My First Story by Rocket. So he has a title, and then he wrote by, and his name is the author. And so down and down came the owl till she was right beside Rocket. Then Rocket began to read. He read about an owl with friendly eyes and a beak the color of a buttercup. She lived in a nest high in a tree on the edge of a meadow and smelled like pine needles and feathers. She liked to nap in the daytime and listen to stories. I think they are friends. How cute they are. Branch by branch, the owl came down from her nest, Rocket read. She was shy, but she was brave, too. Suddenly, Rocket stopped. He wrote something on his paper and then began to read again. One day, the owl came all the way to the ground and became my friend. The owl blinked. Can there be one last sentence, she asked. Can you say, and the owl liked the story very much? What a perfect ending, said Rocket. And it was. So I guess she agrees that they're friends now. And there's the end. And here are lots of Rocket's words in the tree. So I hope you liked my Rocket Writes a Story. So yesterday we read how Rocket learned to read, kind of like the way you learned to read. And today we read Rocket Writes a Story, and it's very similar to the way that you are learning to write stories. So have a wonderful day. I have 2 more Rocket books, which I will have to share with you soon. Take care. Bye.